Hello friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a story where OP discovers that her aunt and uncle never repaid a significant loan meant for her college fund, leading to a tense family confrontation when OP accidentally reveals a long-held secret about her aunt's past. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Called my aunt classless and outing her biggest secret to my whole family. I, 25-year-old female, have always been really close to my cousin, D, 22-year-old male. He had a harder time growing up because his parents had some financial difficulties. He never went to bed hungry, but they didn't have much money for luxuries. My uncle met his wife in a strip club where she was dancing. No one in the family knows this, but she left that work when she got married. They have a business, which D works for, that struggled for years but was one of the businesses that became vital during the pandemic, so things really turned around for them and they're making bank. This means that a few months back, my cousin could have an amazing wedding and a 2-month-long worldwide honeymoon. I was really happy for and proud of him. I grew up solidly middle class, nothing lavish, but we had some things that some would consider luxuries. My parents, however, were not in a position to pay for college for me, which I was chilled about and got loans. I've been working for 2 years and I still live with my parents while I pay off the loans. I unfortunately couldn't get my master's because it wasn't financially viable. Last weekend was my birthday party and my cousin showed up without a gift. His wife made a comment, jokingly, about how they can't afford anything after spending X dollars on their wedding. None of this bothered me because gifts are not an expectation, but my dad was visibly upset. I asked him about this and he opened a can of worms. It turned out that I used to have a healthy college fund until my mom secretly lent it to my aunt and uncle to help save their business when I was 15. The agreement was that as soon as they were able, they would pay it back to my mom. They haven't returned a dime. They have, in the last 3 years, bought a second house, flown first class overseas twice, and paid for Dee's wedding and honeymoon. Their excuse is that I'm done with college and their son works hard, so he deserves it more. My father got so annoyed at my aunt while relaying this to me that he decided to kick them out. While trying to calm him down, I said, "We both know she only thinks about herself and Dee. If she had any class, she wouldn't dress like she's still a stripper." I was so preoccupied I didn't realize that my entire family had quietly walked up with the candles lit, ready to sing to me, and they heard everything. My aunt left and has sent my mom a message that we will never be seeing that money as it's now compensation for her pain and suffering. I didn't mean to out her and be so rude. I was dealing with a lot of emotions and shock over this. I still am. My family doesn't know why we were so angry, so they just think I'm an a-hole and I don't want to tell them the whole story. But I'm not sure if it's excusable either way. Update and answers. My cousin asked me to meet him alone this morning. It turned out he knew nothing about it all. His mom had been keeping it quiet. He took this week to consult with a lawyer to figure out how much they owe. He also recently uncovered 2 things. Firstly, the business has been evading tax, so he's very glad we didn't take legal action. He started the process to come clean and pay that back. Secondly, she also borrowed money from my grandparents, a decent amount, which she never paid back. They've since passed on, so the lawyer said that amount will form part of the estate and will be owing between the 3 siblings. My cousin offered to sell his house to pay in full immediately if need be, but as an alternative, he and his lawyer have created a payment plan that would pay for my master's immediately. They'll take over my loan repayments immediately. Once it's paid, they'll continue paying my mom back monthly until the total is settled. We will obviously be going with the plan where he doesn't lose his home. Despite my cousin and his lawyer seeming fair, they have both advised me to find my own lawyer for my mom's interests, and they've offered to pay for that also. Because of the ages of the loan and the lack of effort to collect on my mom's side, they could legally contest it, or some of it, but my cousin won't be doing that. My cousin apologized to me profusely and said that he wouldn't ask me to keep this secret from the family, but appreciates that I kept it to myself and hopes we can continue that as long as he upholds the agreement we make. My cousin's an amazing human. and we will work with him to try to make the impact of his mother's actions on his life be as little as possible while remaining fair. And the best part of all this was that he planned on giving me my gift after my party when we were alone because he didn't want to steal my thunder. It was a gift card, and inside the envelope was a sonogram. I'm going to be a godmother soon, and I can't wait. The answers. The money was in a savings account that was going to be used for my college costs. It was in my mom's name and so legally hers. She told my dad when I was applying for colleges, he's known for some time. I don't know if it affected their relationship and don't plan on asking. Her and my father have done little to get the money back because she's not coping well with stress due to being sick. My aunt was upset because I outed a 25-year-long lie, more so than people knowing her previous work. I've apologized to her for what I said via text and have left it at that. I've yet to hear back from her. I won't deny I've judged her because of it. It's not something I'm proud of. This blew up at a bad time because my dad had overheard that my aunt is so proud of my cousin for moving out and living on his own at 22. He just boiled over on my behalf. What? She stole from you because they never paid it back, although they could have. Messed with your dreams, but provided her family with everything, all while rubbing it in your face, including at your own birthday party? Why would your mom even keep them around after all this time? Messed up. And our second story. 25 houses on my land? No one's going to take my land. Hi, everyone. This story happened to my brother, and I decided to share it, changing the names and playing a bit with the writing style since storytelling is my hobby. But the essence of the story remains true. Michael, the owner of a plot of land in the suburbs, once received a letter from an attorney acquaintance informing him of strange news. Construction of a luxury housing complex had begun on his land. At first, Michael thought it was a mistake, but he decided to check it out in person. Driving up to his plot, he was stunned. Instead of the forest strip and an old warehouse he'd been renting out, there now stood a massive clubhouse with a swimming pool. Nearby, construction sites for private mansions were bustling with activity. At the entrance, a banner proclaimed Golden Grove Estates, the new standard of living. Michael couldn't believe his eyes. He got out of his car and approached one of the workers. "Hey, buddy, who's in charge here?" he yelled. The worker wiped the sweat off his brow with irritation. "Who are you? No helmet, no entry," he snapped. "I'm the owner of this land," Michael retorted sharply. "Get the foreman, now." 30 minutes later, instead of the foreman, the HOA president, Mr. Kowalski, arrived, a plump man in an expensive suit and dark sunglasses. Behind him lingered his son-in-law, Dan, owner of the construction company Grand Homes. "Oh, Michael Johnson, what a surprise," Kowalski said with a strange smile. "What brings you here?" "What the hell's going on here?" Michael bellowed. "This is my land and you're building your mansions on it." Kowalski spread his hands theatrically. "Let's keep emotions out of this. According to the documents, this land has long been under the HOA's management. You weren't using it, barely paying taxes. We're doing something for the people here. Luxury housing, investors, jobs." "What nonsense. I've owned this land since the 90s, Michael fumed. "What documents are you even talking about?" "Well, maybe there was a mix-up in the records," Dan chuckled slyly. "But now the land's in good hands." Michael scowled. "I'm taking this to court. This is fraud." Kowalski's tone shifted abruptly. "Look, buddy, don't get worked up. We can come to an arrangement. No need for all this hassle. How about a cut? Once we sell the homes, you'll get a percentage. Or we can compensate you in cash. How does $300,000 sound?" "Compensate? I'll break every one of your necks," Michael exploded. Michael gathered all his land documents and took the case to court, but the process quickly revealed he was up against a powerful machine. Kowalski and Dan had bribed officials, falsified cadastral data, and now claimed the land had been transferred officially to their HOA. Michael's lawyer warned him, "The problem is their connections. We could win, but they'll drag this out. Meanwhile, they'll finish construction and sell the houses." But Michael wasn't giving up. He hired a private investigator to dig up dirt. The detective uncovered that Dan and his company had used fake tenders to get construction permits, while Kowalski was involved in kickbacks with local officials. Kowalski wasn't backing down. his men started threatening Michael. Construction materials accidentally fell on Michael's car several times, and one day he found his tires slashed. A tense meeting at the city administration office escalated further. "Look, Michael, why don't you just sign the agreement to sell the land for $150,000 and we'll part as gentlemen," Dan suggested, flicking ash from his cigarette. "Over my dead body," Michael replied through gritted teeth. "Oh, is that so?" Dan smirked. "Then you'll only have yourself to blame. We know where you live." John Lewis, the private detective Michael hired, was new to such cases. With years of political experience, he knew how to find weakness in both people and situations. His mission was simple: gather evidence to bring Dan and Kowalski down in court. John decided a nightmare infiltration of the chaotic construction site would be the best opportunity to collect incriminating materials. That evening, John stood at the edge of the site, observing the lazy security guards patrolling the perimeter. "Typical sloppy setup," John muttered, checking his bag of tools, which included mini cameras, listening devices, and lockpicking gear. When the guards moved to the other end of the site, John quickly scaled the fence. The smell of fresh concrete and dust filled the air as he maneuvered past piles of materials. The construction trailer, doubling as Dan's temporary office, was his target. After sneaking past scattered equipment, John picked the trailer lock and slipped inside. The air was stale with the smell of cheap coffee. He wasted no time, placing mini cameras disguised as fire alarm mounts and a bug in a desk lamp. "Let's see how you explain this, boys," he whispered as he worked. Just as he was about to leave, footsteps approached. John hid behind a cabinet as an argument between a guard and the foreman broke out. After tense minutes, they left. John exited the site undetected, his evidence-gathering mission a success. The cameras soon captured damning footage. Michael received a video of Dan handing an envelope of cash to a local official. Recorded conversations revealed phrases like, "Relax, Kowalski, the land's ours. I'll handle any issues." Michael leaked the evidence to journalists and activists, sparking public outrage. Authorities launched an investigation and prosecutors raided the site. But Dan and Kowalski weren't going down without a fight. One night, someone threw a brick with a threatening note into Michael's house. "Back off, or we'll come for you." The next day, his car was vandalized. Instead of fear, Michael felt only anger. The climax came when prosecutors issued arrest warrants for Dan and seized all project documents. Michael arrived at the site with police to ensure the construction was halted. Dan, flanked by guards, sneered. "What, playing the hero now? Think you can stop me?" "Not this time," Michael said calmly. "I have everything. Recordings, witnesses. You won't just lose your license, you'll go to prison." At that moment, the prosecutor stepped forward. "Dan Miller, you're under arrest for corruption, forgery, and illegal construction," he declared. Dan tried to bluster, but it was futile. His guards resisted the police, but Michael stood firm. Dan and Kowalski faced trial, where their schemes unraveled. Dan received an 8-year prison sentence and Kowalski got 5. Their company was dissolved and the construction site was demolished. Though Michael reclaimed his land, the fight cost him dearly. Time, nerves, and money. He decided to turn the plot into a park, naming it after his late father as a symbol of triumph over injustice. At the park's opening, a journalist asked Michael, "How do you feel after all this?" "Vindicated," Michael replied simply. "No one has the right to steal what's yours." Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.